Friends, I welcome you again to this special program of Walking with God in the Garden. I'm Richard Hulls. I'm the pastor of this program, and I'm happy to tell you that I was inspired to start it actually with my children, who said, "Dad, we think you ought to get a YouTube program." So here I am. And I'm so glad that they did that, because as I stopped to think about what my role is, not only as a father, but also as the director of this program, it's just a challenge and a blessing to be able to share with you. I hope you've had a wonderful week. And as we stop to think about our subject today is, who is God? What kind of a God is he? I want to share something with you as an introduction today, and it is a pot. When I was a student in Israel, I had the opportunity to do some excavating, and I did. And here's a pot that we found. It dates back to almost 6,000 years ago. Now, I don't know the person who made this pot. We do know that oftentimes these pots were used to contain the cremated remains of loved ones. In this particular instance, though, the curiosity is, what did the person believe who made this pot? Did they believe in a God? Was there a God that was defined for that person? A God of kindness or a God of wrath? A world of uncertainty, unpredictability? Did the God that that person had bless him or her? Well, we ask these questions today, and I would like to go back to the Garden of Eden for a moment and have you join with me as we walk with God in the cool of the day. Adam is there walking with God in the cool of the day. Now, Adam never had an opportunity to get all the confusion about a definition of God that we have had. If we take a look at the wide span of religions today, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of ways that people look at God. I can identify some of those religions for you, but you know them as well as I do. The Muslim, the Jewish, the Hindu, the Oriental, and the ancient Indians. They all had ideas about God as well. So I'd like to ask you today, what is your idea about God? What do you think of this God? We here in America oftentimes express gratitude for the greatness and blessing of this country. We say that God has blessed this country, that God has somehow made America what it is. And if we might be so bold and presumptuous, we could say that it is to be a representation. Politicians have even gone so far as to say that this country is a light unto all the nations. That is kind of a background of what Israel was supposed to be out of the Old Testament, a light. And Jesus also, as he speaks about his movement, which became the Christian movement, said, "You are the light of the world." In other words, to take away the confusion about the nature of the person of God. Well, Adam soon discovered what God was like. He enjoyed God in the cool of the day. I hope you do too, in your garden. I hope you take time to meditate and to reflect and to talk with God and to listen to what God might have to say to you. Because I really believe he's always speaking. And he has something to say to all of us, if not each of us. So as we stop to think about God and his relationship with us, what is our idea of him, our concept of him? Not now, but in the future, we're going to be looking at many of the Psalms written by David. I'd like to read briefly from the scriptures today what David had to say about God. Now, David's background was essentially Hebrew. He was brought up in a home that believed in God. In fact, when he goes to kill Goliath, he makes mention of God, the God of Israel. But listen to what David has to say as they anoint him king. Now, he was a shepherd boy out in the hills of Bethlehem. And then the prophet comes and anoints him, and gradually through a process of war and intrigue, David becomes the king of Israel. And he reflects upon that. How did he become king? Was God's hand in it? Was it all by accident or circumstance? Did he, being a shrewd politician, gain that position? Well, listen to what David has to say. I want to read it for you and have you reflect with me on it. It is found in 2 Samuel, and we take a look at chapter 7. I begin the reading with verse 18. Then King David went in and sat before the Lord, like I'm sitting right now here doing this YouTube program. And here's what David said. Who am I, O sovereign Lord, and what is my family, that you have brought me this far? And as if this were not enough in your sight, O sovereign Lord, you have also spoken about the future of the house of your servant. Is this your usual way of dealing with man, O sovereign Lord? What more can David say to you? For you know your servant, O sovereign Lord. For the sake of your word and according to your will, you have done this great thing and made it known to your servant. How great you are, O sovereign Lord. There is no one like you, and there is no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears. I don't know what you have heard, and I'm not sure how you would identify God, if at all. There are many people who say that they don't believe in God. They believe in science. They believe in the unknown. Albert Einstein was asked one time, do you believe in God? And Dr. Einstein said, I believe in something somewhere. But he did not define God. David defines God. He calls him, O sovereign Lord. I would hope maybe you could find that in your life. O sovereign Lord. It is such a mystery that you have brought me this far. Who am I that you should do that? So we ask that question today. Compare yourself to the multitude of people in the world. Because if you do, you will find that you are a very elite member of a very special group. Those of us who live here in America are blessed far beyond measure. And we could say what David said, O sovereign Lord, you have brought me so far. I would hope today that as you look around, and maybe you're sitting in a room watching this YouTube. Maybe you're in a car checking it out on your iPad. It could be that you are even meditating outside and catching a glimpse of this program. What kind of a God do you have? I don't know about the person who made this pot. I do know, though, they must have had some kind of a belief. And this dates back to almost 6,000 years ago. And we have a modern world that we live in. And we have so many conveniences, so many blessings, so many things that are just uncountable. Could we, with David today, say, O sovereign Lord, why is it that you have brought me thus so far? Who am I that you have blessed me? And indeed, blessed us above billions of people. Friends, today we walk with God in the cool of the day. With Adam, we have fellowship with God. We talk with him. He talks with us. We pray. We ask. We give thanks. And we appreciate, I hope and pray, that we can say, as David says in this particular passage, how great you are, O sovereign Lord. There is no one like you, and there is no God but you, as we have heard with our own ears. Friends, I just pray that you have heard with your own ears and opened your own heart to this God who reveals himself to us today in Jesus Christ, his Son. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you for dialing in for YouTube, and enjoy the week and your life.